Thank you. It's great to be back to Michigan. I was attending some of the colleagues at Grosse Pointe Academy. Michigan actually is the state I've lived longest in my life. I was at Michigan State University for 15 years. But it's really to this weather reminded me why I left Michigan. And so I want to thank you for braving the cold and coming to see me tonight. And it is miserable, and but also it testifies why people leave Michigan. Only tough people can handle this. So you all have strong will, and Michigan have a great future. And thanks, Lars, for having me at the Grosse Pointe Academy. I've been to almost every little place in Michigan. I've been to a lot of, I worked in UP, Drummond Island. I actually had worked there, I worked in Detroit, at Grosse Pointe. So this is, it's like back home, you know. It's, but I do not miss the cold, so thank you very much. And I live in Oregon now. It's a much nicer place, you guys know, right? Oregon. And if you ever want to come, we have a place. You watch the TV show called Portlandia? Yeah. You know what the tagline is? Portland is where young people come to retire. Oregon is where young people come to retire. We just passed a law, legalized pot. Feel free to come. You know, we got all this cool stuff there, and you can kill yourself without being imprisoned. That's you know, we got everything in Oregon, and so that's why I go there. But you know, I want to say this. I love Michigan. Really, it's Michigan is where I had my career. I grew up here, and I love this. And so tonight, thank you very much. And what I want to really talk about is we all want a good education for our children. Everybody. I hope you do, right? Anyone wants a bad education for their kids? No, nobody, right? But the trouble is that what is a good education? What is, no, you're young, very young. You're a parent yet?
No.
No, you're not, right?
No.
How old are you? I know, I'm just joking with that. How old are you?
15.
15, okay. Are you a student here?
I was.
You were. Did you have a good education?
Yeah.
What made it good?
I learned a lot.
Okay, all right. I won't embarrass you. What's your name?
David.
David, thank you, thank you. David was a good student. He's learned how to make teachers feel good. I learned a lot. Oh, that's good, thank you. And we all want a great education, but I have, by the way, you know, I just was telling people, I want to say this, you're 15, right? Yeah. Okay, so I have, you can talk to my daughter, you can chat, she's 16. She's 16, and she's now in her senior year, and she skipped a grade. That's, you know, it's a Chinese thing, you're required. You know, you're Chinese, you're required to skip a grade, otherwise it's a family shame. I look at my daughter all the time. I ask her, I said, what kind of education I want for her. She went to a Montessori school in Okemos. That's what I mean. Then she went to the public school. She went to Central in Okemos, then the Okemos Middle School. Then she went to Eugene, Oregon, and then went to public school. Now she's in a private school. Punahou had private school. My son had a similar experience. My son went to public school, then he went to boarding school. So I look around this thing, so what defines a good education? You want to know this one. You send children around, many of you, you're making, in essence, a bet. When you send the kids to a school, you're making a bet. But what kind of things defines good education? I know all of you want first of kids to go to college. And we talk about, many schools promise we want to get our kids to be ready for college. I know as a private school, you may not have this thing called the Common Core. But the Common Core, have you heard of the Common Core? Mm-hmm. Everyone has heard of the Common Core, right? You've heard. But the Common Core promises you to be college ready. Remember those things? College readiness. And so I've been thinking about college readiness. And so my son, as I said, you know, he went to the Okemos Middle School, then he went to a boarding school. He was very ready for college. And he got into one of the most expensive universities in this country. Was very ready, and but he wasn't so ready. He never didn't get any scholarships. I got to pay for that. It's, University of Chicago is very expensive. You know that. It's, and as you also know, middle class people in this country suffer the most. As a professor, you know, we make enough money not to qualify for any financial assistance. But we don't make enough not to care about the money, right? So that was a tough situation, so we were paid for everything. And my son, he went to Chicago thinking that he would major in economics. He wants to be a banker. You know, it's very Chinese, they make a lot of money, but like that. So economics, there's no better department of education. Economics than Chicago. They got, I mean, over there, they got all the Nobel laureates in economics. I mean, if you're not careful, you ride a bike, you kill a Nobel laureate. Just very cute. Lots of them. I'm sure they even live ones. Every 1 year, there's someone. So, but after 2 years in economics, he decided, he said, I'm not going to major in economics. He said, Dad, you know, I'm going to change. I said, why? Is there too many darn Asians in economics? It's probably true. And he said, I'm not really good at this stuff. I want to go study something else. I said, so what are you going to study? He said, I'm going to study art. And art history. He said, what do you think? I think it's great. I said, you know, in the Zhao family, 5,000 years of history in China, we don't even know how to spell art. Go for it. It's pretty good, you know. We don't have that. So he graduated last year. And in June last year, we had a conversation after his graduation. And this was last year. So I said, so how did it go? Now you've spent a lot of my money. And you've done, most importantly, everything that people ask you to do. I mean, you finished, or you got into college, you were ready. You finished college, you were on the dean's list, you get everything. So what do you think of this education? And so he said, well, at first I feel kind of sad for you. I said, why do you feel sad for me? He said, well, you know, how are you going to explain to your Chinese family and friends that I majored in art? I said, I don't worry about that. I said, no. And he said, you know, for Chinese perspective, that's a failure. Okay? He felt as a failed Chinese kid. I said, no. I said, you may be a failed Chinese kid, but now you're in America. Now, failed Chinese can become a successful American. And I said, you know, that would work. And I said, the same thing, you know. And I told him this story. I told you, I was born in a Chinese village, as Lars was saying. I'm a failed peasant. You know, I'm a failure as a peasant. Never worked out for me. And if I had stayed in my village, I would be the worst farmer ever in China produced. So I'm glad I can come out. By the way, my father still doesn't believe I can make a living by talking. And, you know, he's in the village. So I told my son, I said, no, don't worry. I think I'm a successful professor, but a failed peasant. So you can fail at something, but succeed at something else. So then I said, but I have one thing, one condition. Can you stay out of my basement? So that's my definition of success. I said, if you can stay out of my parents' basement, that's very successful. So now I define education is not about college ready, it's about out of basement ready. So I think actually Grosse Pointe Academy, you should really change your mind into a Grosse Pointe Academy education keeps your children out of your basement. What do you think? Would you agree with that? I think that's pretty good definition. You know why I say that is because right now we have a very hard time keeping our children out of our basement. You probably know this. A few months ago, New York Times just published an article called the Boomerang Kids. Have you seen that? We have actually, we call this new generation called the Boomerang generation. They're like Australian boomerang. You throw them out to Ann Arbor or East Lansing, and you pay a lot of money, and then after they gradually come back to your basement and never leave again. That's called the Boomerang Kids. Out, they come back, you know, and that's the challenge we have. So you were just wondering what happened with all this thing. This is some of the data you're seeing. It's quite sad, actually. It's America right now, when you are so eager to send your children go to college, we got over 50% of recent college grads, recently in the last 5 years, are unemployed or underemployed. Now that's pretty tough. And on average, each American college graduate owes $23,000 in college debt. So not only that they're back to your basement, they owe somebody money. And U.S. college debt is over $1 trillion. That's more than credit card. You know how people, how enjoy, how Americans love borrowing money, but college debt is not. And this is, you know what our kids are doing now? This is funny. Unemployed is fine. Underemployed is really interesting. They're either working part-time or they're working on jobs that do not need a college degree. So just remember this is interesting. 50% of college graduates today who are employed are working on jobs that do not require a college degree. That means today, if you go anywhere, America can be proud. We can say this. We have the best educated generation of bartenders today. You know, college degrees, you know, they're making coffee for you, they're making cocktails for you. But chemistry major does not make better cocktails. I've tried that. Now this is quite interesting. At the same time, this is a global problem. At the same time, we're finding a lot of companies, for example, at the Google doesn't look at college degree anymore. Google, as the most successful company, over 14% of their employees do not have a college degree. They hire, and actually Google HR people just go online, look for people, what you've done. They're looking for something very different. So they don't look at that, and so they pick different type of things. They look at, this is Forbes magazine, they look at what you can do. They look at if you take ownership of your job. They look at, do you have a sense of humility? Look at, can you take leadership, and you have the ability to learn. So this is quite interesting. A lot of college people, college graduates, unemployed, underemployed, but Google looks for something different. And this is it's a global phenomenon. We have this problem, college unemployment, China, Korea, Spain, South Africa. So right now, we'll look at high youth unemployment across the globe. This is European countries. So what are we looking at? We're looking at basically a new phenomenon, which we call our children are not poorly educated. They are miseducated. They have been educated for an economy that does not exist anymore. I don't have to say any more about it because we live in Michigan. We know this very well, right? We know this very well. Michigan has experienced a massive shift. So that's why I was going to remind you to think about this. It's called the Stone Age did not end because we ran out of stone. Now, I don't know if you know this very well. I was just brought over to Oman at the country. The Sultan there, like the king, you know, they're very worried about ending of oil age. You know, it's happened. You remember about 10 years ago, people were saying, we have oil crisis. Now our oil crisis, we have too much oil. It's really interesting looking at it. And actually, so the oil age will end before we run out of oil. We have other things. So when the oil age ends, you know what happens? It changes what kind of knowledge we need. Technology always have redefined the talents and skills we need. Now we live in a new economy. Last economic recession started 2008. It's not a recession. It's a lot of economists call it a resetting. It indicates the arrival of a new economy where we need different kind of people, different kind of talents. So let's look at what did college do wrong? What did our education do wrong? Well, we were educating people to take jobs that have disappeared. And what has the major shift? I think there are really two big things for us to consider. The first big thing is consider the arrival of the age of globalization. And for students, for us, for education to consider is about now our students' talents and skills and what our children can do is judged on the global scale. Not only what you can do, but also how much you cost. So if you have talents that you can hear, it takes, let's say, Grosse Pointe Academy. I don't know how much, I know how much you charge, okay. So you pay this, so you're spending a lot more money. If you think about 12 years, or you do 8 years, but think about 12 years. On average, American students, our public school students, spend $125,000 for 12 years, public school. Private school, perhaps even more than that, just think. And China spends, let's say, $10,000. So we spend over 10 times more money than the Chinese. Now, if you can do the same thing as the Chinese can do, if you're a good businessman, you will not buy the talent here. You'll buy the talent elsewhere. So that's what the first thing globalization is happening. It's called offshoring of jobs. It's not whether you love the country or not. It's not about whether you like other people or not. It's economic fact. You will go where talent is cheaper. And so now the first question for us, for Americans to ask, is not trying to curse the Chinese, Indians, Mexicans as people who steal our jobs, but look at what we can do to avoid the competition. Because even in fair economics terms, you can't protect that. It's impossible to do that. And Michigan for a long time did not realize this. We go offshoring of jobs. So our question is this: are you able to equip our students with talents and skills that cannot be purchased at lower cost? That's the number one question. And the second challenge is the arrival of the second machine age. The first machine age was steam engine. It redefined really what's working. Farmers were become less important than workers in factories. And that's the first machine age. Second machine age is driven by digital technology. By the way, what I'm showing here are both books. This is the book by Thomas Friedman. This is the new book by two MIT professors. You should really get a chance to read this. It's a really fabulous book. David, you should get a copy of this. It's really interesting to you. And I know you play video games all the time, right? You understand that, Okay, so it changes how we think. Okay, what this second machine age, digital technology, it affects education a lot because it's making a lot of skills and knowledge we used to value much less valuable. Much less valuable. And let me give you some simple examples. Again, this is our Detroit example. Remember this? A lot of our middle school, high school graduates used to work on this job. Those were middle class jobs. Second machine age, digital technology, you probably remember this. It's lost a lot of jobs. A lot of jobs. And even in Gary, Indiana, there was a factory. In the 1950s, they employed 5,000 workers. It's a steel factory. Now it's about 500. I was in Hershey, Pennsylvania. They were making the kisses. Merely 5 years ago, they had 3,000 people working in the Hershey factory. They hand wrapped everything. Now it's about 300 people. Machines. And now these machines are replace a lot of things in your life. You probably remember what collar jobs you replaced. Tax accountants. Where they used to station in the shopping malls to your H&R Block, this yellow sign, remember these things? They're gone. TurboTax. Do you remember this? Again, look at your iPhone or your smartphones, where your apps, United Airlines, Delta Airlines, replaced a lot of workers at airlines. Medical, and America actually has a surplus of lawyers. Can you believe that? Well, don't worry, we're still suing each other as much as possible. We still enjoy doing that. But we don't need many lawyers. This is really fascinating, law school. Why don't we need so many lawyers? It's very simple. Remember, a lot of lawyers, law school graduates, what they did was legal research. Before the digital databases, you know how hard it is to search the records? And I was actually trying to do some search on the congressional record. If you go to 2014 congressional records, if you want to go through the volumes, traditionally in print, it will take 10, 20 people for half a year. Now if you want to search, everybody can do it. Get online, type in something. You'll find it everything in seconds. We don't need those people doing the legal research anymore. And of course, so this is shifting a lot. Basically, no matter how complex a job is, if you can separate it into different steps, it can be replaced by machines. That's just that simple. I was showing some of the teachers the arrival of the Google car. Remember this guys? The driverless car. David, you don't need to take driver's ed anymore. Google car is coming. It's coming to a street near you. It's really fast. Driverless car. Seriously. Imagine this, how this is going to shift. So As a result, America has lost lots of jobs. And then we have a problem here. And basically, if you look at some of the data, is we got a big problem. America has a shrinking middle class. Some people like to blame social policies. Some people say, well, not kind of socialist enough. Let's tax the rich more and give back to the poor. And some people make a different argument is, well, maybe there's some truth. But the most important truth is that all the traditional middle class jobs have gone. They've gone to other countries or they've been replaced with machines. So what's left? We see the growing of the upper income and growing of lower income. So what does that reflect? What is the story there? And America cannot survive very well without a good middle class. But when the middle class is disappearing, what does it mean? It actually reflects 200 years of job change. So we start with 1800. We had a lot of farmers, about 50%. And then quickly around the 1870s, that's where industrialization happens. The first machine age started. So many people become employees. They work for somebody. And then after 1970s here, we have another called paradigm shift. In the middle, it's not paradigm shift, it's called minor inventions. They change a little bit. They don't redefine knowledge. But since 1970s, we have seen the sharp drop. And why is that? In 1970s, we began outsource shoemaking, textile, those kind of things to other countries back. And then 1970s is also the increasing sophistication of computer chips. That's how it began to happen. It began to do networking. Now we're seeing the real beginning of the second machine age. And what's on the right? You look here. The creative group and the service group. So the creative group, we're at this moment again, by the way, in 1810. So a lot of people into creative stuff. They come up with new ideas and they do service. And now we're seeing a lot more here. So the creative group is the high income group. That's growing big. And now the service group is a low income group. They're not as good. That's why I said this big gap here. Now our challenge, our colleges or schools have always been preparing the working group, the working class. Now, that's why we always tell people, go there, look for a job. Our education has always been about preparing our students to find a job. But that's not happening anymore. So we'll be miseducating our kids. Who will become our new middle class? Just show you this little diagram to think about what have we been trying to do and why it doesn't work anymore. So the traditional education model is this, is you come to school as a parent, you pay money, so you come to school, you ask the school, so what kind of outcomes, what kind of products are you going to give me? So if the school tells you, by the end of 12th year, your kid will do whatever Harvard wants. That's why you're buying some of this stuff. So you're meeting other people's expectations. I call this the employable skills. Michigan, we have the MIP test. Michigan, we have all these the standards, the Common Core. They're all trying to prescribe what other people want you to do. Because they're treating you as employees. You're basically trying to meet the expectation of other people. Even going to college, it's like employees. It's really funny. You're paying money to go to college, but they hire you and say, are you ready for Michigan State? Yeah, you say, I pay you Michigan State to make my children ready. Why would I be ready for you? That's old idea because you meet other people's expectations. And in this traditional model, we really homogenize children. So, we know our children are differently talented, Our children have different interests. Our children have different passion. But we really don't care because we want to make sure our children are good enough for some predefined job or college. That's what we do. We sacrifice a lot of things. Your children may be great at, art or music or singing, but I said, that's no use. College wants you to be good at SAT, ACT. Our college, with traditional value, literacy, numeracy, and logic thinking skills. That's what we do. And we know our children are differently, very different. For example, I want to explain this one. You probably know, many of you know the simplified version of multiple intelligences. Our children are smart in different ways. By the way, multiple intelligence, I have to tell you this, you have to think about it. Multiple intelligence doesn't mean you're great at everything. You're not multiply talented. You individually not. It means you are, if you're good at something, you have to be bad at something. Okay? You cannot be great in all of those. If you were, we would call you God. But since we haven't started calling you God yet, you are not great. But also it's a good story, good news too. You cannot be bad at everything. Do you guys know? If you don't know what you're good at, yet you feel depressed, I would say be good at being depressed. That's pretty good, And so you know one is bad at everything, and no one is good at everything. And then this is born. By birth, we are actually different. Then you add life. That's another thing. Life can nurture, or environment, or education can either enhance you or stifle your talent. So let's give an example. This is very important. We call this the Matthew effect of cognitive development or talent development. Like Matthew, the book of Matthew says that the rich get richer, the poor get poorer. The same thing. So if you are talented, let's say in music, for example, and if you happen to be born in a music family, you get more music. Remember that? So when you cry, the first cry, your parents are more likely to give you more music. And you respond to more music, and they will give you more music. So you're much more likely to become a musically talented than somebody else. You have more exposure, you like it, people give you more. But on the other hand, you might be talented in music, but the school or the environment doesn't give you anything. And that will never be triggered. You might be triggered too late. I thought I could have become a Justin Bieber. Look at me, right? Do I look like him? Yeah, and the good Justin Bieber before he turned bad. But I never had access to music. In my village, and I did not see any musical instrument until I was in college. So suppressed. So I don't know. Now, plus my daughter, she suppresses me further. She doesn't even allow me to sing in the car. Whenever my daughter's in the car, says, Dad, can you please, I try to practice this, So, I'm kind of suppressed. And I will never know if I can be good at music, okay? So, but then, that's how, so every child has certain propensity to be great in certain domains. But they also have certain weaknesses. Now, with this model, the traditional model of education, with this model, what happens here is when you decide something in a curriculum, when Harvard, Stanford make a decision, they make actually a value judgment. They're telling you, you may be talented, but that talent is of no value, we don't care. Do you see that? That's what I mean. And then we homogenize people. So this idea is to make everybody equally mediocre in one area. Somebody may be great at math, somebody may not be good. But our schools, 2,400 on SAT is actually mediocre. There's no exceptionality. If you put enough sweat to it, everybody can get 2,400. Everybody could. But, of course, some people maybe take longer to get 2,400, some take less. So that's what we call aptitude. When we tell people, do you have aptitude for language, for math? It basically means really two things. One is that how much effort does it take you to be there? A lot of us, if you are linguistically talented, you will learn language with much more ease. And also, second means that how far can you go? So if you are linguistically talented, you really can become almost native-like. If you are not, it's going to take you longer, and you may not get as far. The same thing as painting. All of us can learn to paint, but not all of us can be a Picasso. Okay? The same thing with sports, with everything. So you have to think about it's both talent and education. We call this nature via nurture. So that's how it happens. Now imagine a school. This is our old model. We don't care really what you are. We try to make you something we want. And this is what I call the sausage making machine. schools are aimed to make sausages, right? Okay, because everybody wants sausage. A sausage is good employee, and we traditionally have different kind of sausages. You got the Harvard sausage, the MIT sausage, the U of M sausage, Michigan State sausage, Oakland U sausage, and some Wayne Community College sausage, and the dropout class sausages, And we are the same, we're only quantitatively different. Do you notice that it's like in the 2400, the 1800, we're talking about all norm reference. Are you 99 percentile or 10 percentile? Remember, we're doing the same thing. So we're all the same sausage. It was necessary to do that. And now the problem is this. Now we live in a society, 70 people say, no, I want some bacon. So we have machines that are good at making sausage. You don't make bacon. And so the sausage is not bacon, it's bad. That's how it happened. That's how the whole idea we're in a time when people diversify their need, we'll continue to bring the same sausage. And then we are trapped by the idea of sausage. We don't want to forget that. So whenever we still compare our kids, are you getting good grades? Are you going to get test scores? Then nationally, we try to compare to other countries to say, oh, how come China gets better test scores? Then they must be doing better in education, because we define education as test scores. When we talk about what defines high quality education, we've always defined test score. What does test score mean? Test score basically means how well have you successfully equipped your students with the skills we described. And to be successful in acquiring those test scores, you sacrifice something. Remember, you're sacrificing something else. So that's the whole system is. The better you are as a sausage maker, the less likely you're going to make some bacon. So that's the idea, right? So American education, for example, you hear this all the time. Say, oh, American education is getting worse, is in decline, right? And I can tell you this, in terms of test scores, American education is not in decline, it's not getting worse, it has always been bad. It's been bad for a long time in terms of test scores. So when people tell you this, and they say, oh, American education is getting worse, I can tell you how bad we've been. Since 1950s, 1958, Life magazine has this article said, American education is in crisis, in contrast to that of Soviet Union. And there's two kids, one is Stephen, one is Alex, one is from Chicago. They're both 18. You can say, they basically American schools are too relaxed. We don't have enough curriculum. Well, yes, American kids are too happy. America's education's problem will make our kids too happy. That's bad, Look at that's Stephen, that's Alex. You look at they're both 18. Look, it's quite funny. So, and by the way, they said American education is horrible. We should get rid of all our, low demanding classes. But actually, in the end, I have to tell you, Alex came to America, and Soviet Union collapsed. That prediction did not really work. Now I'm going to have some more data. But look, some of our students in 1960s, 1964, excuse me, the first international mathematics study. It's an international study. Americans, 12th graders, ranked 12th out of 12.